Welcome back for the final installment in Remaking Mountain Park. This is the last piece of the puzzle for me. I'm building the stand on which the model is going to sit. And I decided to do it out of 3/4 inch plywood because I wanted it to be really heavy duty. Because when it's sitting there on display, people are going to walk up to it and they're going to end up kicking the base accidentally, and it's going to take a beating. So I wanted to make sure it was heavy duty. So this is one end of it, and you can see I've got these monster brackets on here, really heavy steel brackets, and these will go into the side right here. I'll screw those in. This will be bolted into the concrete floor of the visitor center. And I have to put more of the bolts, the brackets, on here because these will be bolted in as well. So hopefully it's not going to go anywhere once it's in place. That's my hope. The plywood, I got top quality plywood at a major big box store that I won't name, and it was a bit of a shock to me. You know, they had the stacks of plywood and they had the price tag there, 38 bucks a sheet, which I thought, yeah, it's a little expensive, but that's okay. So I got a piece of plywood for what I thought was 38 bucks. It turned out it was 67 bucks a sheet. Just outrageous. And it's not even great quality. There's wood putty all over this thing to try to cover up blemishes. But that's not a big concern of mine because once I get the brackets in, this is going to have a banner on the front and back. So the banner is right here. I had these made up. And it's basically what you see on the billboard at Mountain Park. I recreated that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this whole surface gray, a sort of semi-gloss gray, and then I'm going to screw this into the surface. So that will help distract people away from any of the defects that are in the wood itself. And it should be a nice little piece of ballyhoo to draw people over to it. So I've done both the end pieces. Those are all screwed together. And now I'm going to screw these in. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint them, and the side that's getting painted is the side on the other side of the brackets, so I don't have to worry about painting the brackets. That should be fine. And I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to spray paint these or whether I'm probably just going to use a roller. That's going to be the quickest way to do it. So it shouldn't take me much time to do that. I just got to wait for better weather. It's raining today, and when it's nice, I'll take this outside, paint it out there, and then I'm not going to put the base together here because I'll never be able to transport it up to the park. I'll stack these sheets of plywood on top of the model when the model's all boxed up. And then when I get to Heritage Park, then I'll put this all together there, and then we can put the model on it.
Well, I know I said I was going to leave it be and I wasn't going to touch it again, but I had an idea. And I went back to 3D printing. And look at that. I got the flagpole on top. I created a base on here in Blender as usual, and the post. And that looks pretty darn good, and it's a lot more secure. It hides the dent that was in the top. I was thinking about going ahead and putting the other flagpoles that are on here. It's a little trickier though because I don't have the same type of base to work from. This isn't circular. This is a sort of V-shaped thing I have to create, and I'm not sure how I would do that in Blender, but I'll give it a little more thought. It's an interesting possibility, but one more little detail. The lobby at Heritage State Park, the visitor center, hasn't really changed much in decades. What you see here is that huge tree in front of you. There was another one just like it to the left of it. And then you see this planter over on the left foreground. They cut that down. So they removed one of the trees on the background left. They're removing this tree here on the foreground left. They're keeping that one there, the big one. And the plan is to move not all, but some of the benches and clear an area. So we'll see what happens when we get there. Mel's going to let me know when it's all ready to go, and at that time we'll start putting it together. I finished painting all of the wood, so that's done. 2 coats of semi-gloss. Looks pretty nice. The other pieces are off to the side there, you can't see them. And as you can see, I got the banner down. And what I did is I went and I got these carpet transition strips and just cut them for a frame around it to hold it in, because I didn't just want to staple gun it in there, so I wanted to try to make it look a little nice anyway. And I have these little tiny nails that came with it, and I had to cut them all down because they were too long. So now all I gotta do is just make sure these are straight and then go ahead, tack them in, and so all that framing is done, and then I can go ahead and screw the entire thing together. So I was thinking I was originally gonna just stack these in the car like this, put it together at Heritage Park, but I think it's better if I put it all together here, test fit it to make sure the model actually fits on top of it properly, then just bring this as a separate unit to Heritage Park, and that way Mel and the crew there can bolt it into the floor, and then when it's secured in the floor, then I'll bring the model down, drop the model on, screw it in, we can put the, and then it'll all be done. So let me get going on this, and then I'll get back to you when I start putting the whole thing together. In case you're wondering, I did leave enough slop in this to fit the model a base on, because I know how imprecise my measurements always are. So there's about 1/4 inch on each side of wiggle room. So when I set this on, I can then screw it in and I won't really have any issues, or I shouldn't have any issues setting this on. I'll never say never, knowing me. But this hardware should be sturdy enough to keep this thing in place for a long time. I'm still thinking of getting some molding for the bottom to prevent people kicking it and wearing off the paint. So I probably will do that once it's at Heritage Park. That won't be hard to do. So the next step is just to simply pack this up and move it off to Heritage Park and let them install it there. stay where you are. This is perfect. All right. So just hang on to that.
Yes. Just wait for the time to hit.
No. Perfect.
Now, the side where this was, I don't know if it was just rubbed off or scratched, but
The sides where this
see
was.
in the top there? Is there red markings from this?
No.
On the other side. See?
No.
There was. Fine.
Oh yeah. I can wipe that off.
That was it.
Okay. Let me get this out of here. I'm just gonna toss this down past you. And I'm gonna pay the top. That can have it. I got it. Yep.
Am I going up? Whoa. I'm going up, right?
Yep. That worked out well. Let's put this down.
Lift what? What am I lifting? The handle? Or this? Come up.
Yeah, if you lift that.
Ready?
Yep. That works. I'm gonna walk it to the car. Yep. Okay, let's pick it up way at the end here.
Yeah.
That is perfect.
You gonna put anything on here to protect it from this?
So here is part one of the installation. Mel was able to screw these down, and it's nice and sturdy in the middle of the lobby. Hi, Mel.
How's it going, Jay?
Oh, lovely. Thanks for your help.
Of course. Thanks for everything else.
Yep, and then next week, we'll get the rest of it in.
Sounds like a plan. A new era.
Well, I did a little more touch-up before we're getting ready to move. There was just a area right here where the track had lost a few ties, so I just glued some new ties in there, and I'll trim those down afterwards. Never did get the railings on, and I'm not sure anybody would really have noticed, but you know, little details would have been nice, but at some point this has to end. So I think for most people who are going to look at this, they're going to get the impression of what the park was like, and that was my whole reason for doing this, was to just sort of get people to go, wow, there was actually a park like that in Holyoke. And you know, with all of the different rides and different colors throughout, I think people will get the general idea of how magical this place was 35 years ago. One more little detail. I never thought I was going to get to this. I happened to find some of these little bushes that I had for my model railroad layout. Because what I needed is I didn't need to, but I really wanted to put hedges along the edge of the golf course. There was not only a fence there, but there were also hedges that ran along. So if you're walking along this sidewalk here, it wasn't just a fence there. There were actually, I'm not sure if they were holly bushes, but there were some sort of bushes, all leafy bushes, all the way around up to about here. And then it was just a fence. So I wanted to recreate that. And luckily, I had those spare bushes because I didn't have anything else that I felt would really make a good look for this. So I just ran a bead of glue around there, the 3-in-1 glue, and then peeled off. These were all that were left of them, these little branches. So I just peeled off the fluff, and then I just pasted it into the glue all the way around, and so now we have the hedges there, and that's a much more accurate look to that area of the park. So another little thing, another little detail before we head up to Heritage Park.
I can't get my hand under there because it's. You should have told me you stepped. Good night, Mountain Park.
First, I put this across the model, and you go that way. And walk behind the model. Okay. I'm just going to put this on so I can take the clips off. Just look straight up. Over here. There's your gloves.
There she blows with beauty.
And now let's just, you rotate that way, I'll rotate this way, and it should, in theory, drop onto the top of the base. Look at that. Just like I knew I would do. Excellent.
And my fear had come true. And it wasn't because the model base was built incorrectly. The model base was actually fine. It was the model itself, and I had not built the model square. So where Mel is standing, that corner actually sort of tilted a bit in toward the base. So it was a 1/4 inch off. And the solution to this was Mel got a knife and then shaved off sections of wood underneath the model until we could get it to fit, and we had to bang it in there with a hammer in order to get it to lock in. So, but on the plus side, I didn't need to screw the model into the base because it fit so tightly that it was never going to come off unless somebody took a sledgehammer to it. And also, by banging it so hard into the base, it shook off all the loose leaves on all the trees, and I think we pretty much cleared off any loose material that would be on the model.
Thank you.
Beauty. Yeah. All right, let's give it a shot.
Perfect at my end here. How's yours? Perfect. Look at that. Look at that.
it gets to the station, which you don't normally, a coaster will slow down as it gets to the station. This one, because of the changing elevation, it's faster the closer it gets to the station.
It's a fun ride.
Yeah.
It's a really fun ride. I remember when I've only been there once, but when I went, it was like probably about now. I don't know if kids were in school or not, but it wasn't crowded, so you could just get on and go right back on.
Wow.
Just keep going. It's great. Yeah, that'll be a new task cleaning the bottle case.
Yeah,
Just
we'll
like it.
keep all the fingerprints off it.
Is that totally sealed? Like if we want to spray glass cleaner on it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know I'd use glass cleaner on it because it's plexiglass, not real glass.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a damp rag.
Yeah.
I would see. I just want to make sure the paper towels don't scratch it for the.
Yeah.
It's like a microfiber towel. Something.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do.
It's like the
Yeah. It's nice.
pretty cool.
So thanks to Mel and the crew at Heritage State Park, we have it. And thanks to Flinmar for this gorgeous cover. It's absolutely beautiful. So here it is. If you want to check out the model, come to Heritage State Park right next to the merry-go-round on Appleton Street in the Visitor Center, and you can see this in person for yourself. Things aren't completely finished. The model is done. So this is where my video series ends. The model is done. But I've got a few more things I'm going to do. Mel has a glass case for memorabilia from the park, which I have tons of. So I'll be putting that in there. And then back here, these two doors no longer function. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to create 7-foot panels that fit into these that have a set of photos, somewhat like the collage I did for the merry-go-round, but this is going to be a more structured collage with a more definitive history of the park built into it. So people can look at the history there and the photos, and then they have the model here for reference. There's also on that wall going to be a TV with a loop of mountain park videos on it, and there'll also be a legend so that you can see exactly what's what in the park. So those are details that are coming, but they don't really have anything to do with the model. So if you want to see those other things, you have to come to the park. So thank you for sticking with me through this long 4-year series. I am thrilled that this has a home now, and hopefully it will be around for a lot longer than I am.